Hey everybody. Today I want to talk about something that I'm fairly passionate about, and I have recently just started to get into in a larger amount of depth, and that is, I guess you could say, vintage slash antique photography. So I have many old antique cameras, one of which being the Brownie Hawkeye, which is one of my favorite cameras to take photos with. And this particular one was made in 1951, and it takes 120 film, which they still make today. So, example, this is Kodak, and I use the 400 because if you shoot indoors or it's outside as well, you don't need as much light exposure to get a good photo. And so that's what the film is. It's on a spool, and basically inside of that is these kinds of negatives. So it's every single square is another photo, and in order to advance the film you have to turn this here. So this is a red window, and there are numbers that are printed on the film, and every time you want to advance the film after you've taken an exposure, you have to turn it. And as you turn, the film will tell you the number, you stop on the number, and then you can take another exposure, and that's how it is. Now these are very basic pinhole cameras, so there's no way to actually view the focus or change the focus or change the aperture or anything like that. You basically shoot and hope it works out. And the way that you look is there's these glass windows which have a 45-degree angle mirror up between the two, and you look through the top of the mirror, and that's how you line up your photo. And then you have to stay very still as you can, and then you take the photo. If there's movement, it won't turn out as well. And the way that you have to put the film in is it has a latch on top. You turn that, and then the camera comes out of its housing. So there you can see the red window, and then the spool of film goes up on here. You stretch it across the exposure area, which is this square, and then it will wind onto the spool down here, which mine actually came with a original spool. Now it says in here to use Kodak 620 film. They don't make 620 anymore, at least not in Canada, which is where I live. So I use 120, which is almost the same size. It still fits on a 620 spool. And then when you want to take a exposure, if you saw that tiny light, that's how fast the shutter speed is, which can change over time because of the springs and everything. So that's basically it. That's basically the camera. I'll show you some photos that I've taken recently. I went to a place called Wolf Island, which is a half-hour ferry ride from Kingston, Ontario. And so these are some of the photos that I've been able to take. My friend's dog. And they turned out fairly well, which I liked. I used black and white film. They do make color versions of 120, but I enjoy the fact that if you're going to use an old camera, I think if you use a black and white film, it just feels like it's from the time period. I like this one. This was a sunset. The sky was very pink. And I like how we have the flag in there, kind of patriotic. Now, example of what can happen, there's a few things that can happen. So if we go back to the dog photo, you see these colored lines right here? Those are light flares from the film. So although it's black and white, the light intensity was strong there, so the light flares printed in color. Also, in some cases, the light can be so strong that it has these lines going through it almost. So if you see these vertical lines, that is just because there was a lot of light, and so it overexposed the film a little bit. Now that can't be prevented unless you can change the shutter speed, which unfortunately on basic pinhole cameras like this you cannot. But that is just a quick example of an old style camera and what you can do with it. An example of what I enjoy doing with it. A project that I'm currently working on now is I want to go downtown where there's a lot of historic sites and buildings, and I want to use the black and white film. This is black and white film, by the way. I got this off of I think it was Amazon. It was on sale for like 25 bucks, which is good. Because normally a retail camera store charges about $10 a roll, and I have 5 rolls for 25 bucks, so not bad. I want to go downtown where there's historic sites and buildings and stuff and take black and white photos of them and try to give like a historic feel to the photos. Anyways, so that is that. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something overall. Feel free to comment if you have any questions or tips or anything at all. Thanks for watching.